Welcome, everyone. Happy to be with you today to share a few thoughts with you. Today's a feast day of Pius X, a remarkable figure in the church and its history at the end of the 19th and the 20th centuries. I'm not going to talk about Pius X today, but it's really well worth your time to read about all the things that he did during his papacy. What I do want to talk about is how well you love God and neighbor. In the Gospel of Matthew today, there's a scene where Jesus is asked a very, very critical question, like the question to ask: what is the greatest commandment? And Jesus very beautifully says, well, to love God with your whole heart, mind, and soul, and then your neighbor as yourself. This particular passage of the Gospel of Matthew is very dear to me because people often will say, Father, why did you become a priest? Well, this particular passage was the source of my understanding of call to priesthood. Because as a kid, I always liked to say, God, I want to love you with my whole heart, mind, and soul, everything that I am. What I didn't do as a young guy was that second part about loving your neighbor as yourself. Before deciding going in the seminary, what I wanted to do was to be a scientist. I wanted to be in a laboratory away from people, messing with my test tubes, doing experiments and things like that. And the reason why I didn't really want to be around people is because I grew up in the bakery restaurant business, and I wait on tables and customers. Some of them were really sourpusses and sometimes mean. Occasionally, I wanted to throw their 2-penny tip right at them. It get me so angry. So I made a decision. I never wanted to work with people. Just wanted to be some kind of scientist, biologist, marine biology, whatever it was. And lo and behold, I get this call to come to serve the Lord. And one of the questions that I had in my own discernment was, Lord, why do you call me to be a priest when I really don't care about people that much? And the reason why I share this story with you is because it's critical to how we understand our love of God. If we really want to love God with a whole heart, mind, and soul, with everything that we are, unreservedly, not half-heartedly, but wholeheartedly, something marvelous starts to happen. That desire of wanting to love God completely and entirely and genuinely and authentically in all that we do, it will morph in a beautiful way to concern for our neighbor. It's inescapable. If our love of God is genuine, our hearts will be more and more open to the people that are around us in their needs. That second part about loving your neighbor as yourself, well, the self that Jesus is talking about is that authentic self of being the best loving person that I can be. As a matter of fact, the more we learn to love God and experience His love in our own lives, we will blossom as human beings. We'll make God's love touchable as much as Jesus' love was touchable. The two go hand in hand. There's no separation of the two ways of loving. The other thing, and people get kind of confused about this, is that we don't love each other always in the same way. Some of us are more talented in loving our neighbor than maybe somebody else with the way they love. One of the best books that you can read on, and I discovered this years ago, was it's entitled The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. And he says there's like 5 basic ways in which people can love each other. I'm not going to go through all of them, but for instance, sometimes it may be doing things for someone, or some kind of just presence, of listening or talking, and different, giving gifts and things like that. So we all have different love languages, and some we're better at, than others. The reason why I say that is you need to be in tune with how you love, and then to explore how you can love better. So that all-encompassing command of the Lord to love him with whole heart, mind, and soul, and our neighbor as ourself, there'll be this crescendo of loving where you discover more and more ways to love other people. So if you feel a little inadequate or this or that, look to see how you like to share your love with other people. Ask the Lord to show you how you need to expand how you love other people. And so that his love then that you wish to offer to him for all that he has done for you, you can then share that with others. Love in the flesh, making love touchable. I'll give you a very, very simple example, for instance, of a gesture of a hug. When I was in the military, it was a very, very long day, and I was in the office with my staff, and one of the sergeants, her daughter was only about 6, 7 years old, just a tiny little thing, Lily. She comes up to me and she says, "Oh, Father Bob, how are you?" And I looked at her and I said, "You know, Lily, it's been a pretty tough day." And typically when I talk with little people, I get down on my knees. So I got down on my knees and Lily looks at me and she comes up and she goes, "Oh," and she gives me this big hug. That little gesture of innocence, of giving me a hug, which was surprising, and her mother's just standing there and smiling, was such a beautiful experience. So you and I can offer simple things to each other. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Smiles, hellos, how are you doing today? And so we can express the love that we have of God to one another and make this world beautiful. St. John Paul II talked about building a culture of life. Building a culture of life is sharing our life, our love with others. Word by word, gesture by gesture, gift by gift, prayer by prayer, where our love then becomes part of us and we share that with each other. So I offer that consideration for you today. As Jesus was asked that question, what is the greatest commandment? May we be the best of lovers, loving God wholeheartedly and striving every day to love each other in wonderful ways. God bless you.